Today I'm sharing with y'all how we keep our home clean with so many children and so many pets. I have been a mom for over 15 years. I have always had pets. We have always had indoor animals of some kind. If you've been around my channel for a while, you know that I just can never do a video like this without a little disclaimer or caveat at the beginning. So let me get that out of the way. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, stick around. We have a lot of fun. We have a fabulous community here. You will see in the comments below. Everyone is wonderful here, so join us. Come be a part of our friendship circle. We won't even make you eat a live chicken to join. Just show up as you are. Join us. In all seriousness, my disclaimer is this. 1, everyone's idea of what keeping a clean home looks like is a little bit different, so I can only give you advice based on my experience. Number 2, we moved to a house that is a very different layout, and so we have been in the process of decluttering again. So some of these things I'm going to talk about are things that worked really well for me in our previous house and I'm trying to get back to in this house. Because I know some of y'all out there are going to be like, Angie, we just saw your cabin makeover video and that room was not clean. Well, of course not. I'm talking about our living areas, the main living areas, how we keep those clean on a daily basis. All right, there it is, the obligatory disclaimer. Let's get into the video. Tip number 1 is to create a routine and habits that actually work for you. I think sometimes we can get really caught up in what other people are doing and looking at blog posts or videos, books, or whatever it is that we're looking at as a resource for helping us, or just seeing what other people do and thinking that that's the only way or we must emulate that way. And your life, believe it or not, is very, very unique to you. Your situation is unique. Whatever your schedule looks like, these things matter. Your kids' ages, how many kids you have that are old enough to help, all of this stuff will go into creating a routine that works for you. Now, with that said, I have worked really hard to come up with not just a routine for our family, but also some little habits that I feel like really, really help me personally. It's sort of like clean begets clean, sort of like that saying with kids, like sleep begets sleep. It's the same thing. If things are tidy and organized, I find that my family actually has a much easier time doing the same. If everything is kind of cluttered and a mess, then they just see it as, I'll just lay this thing down here amongst the mess. The out of place thing doesn't really look all that out of place when it's amongst a mess, but if it's amongst a very clean and organized area, suddenly it looks very out of place and everyone can see it. Some of the habits that I have created for myself that I feel like really help contribute to this and for my family as well, but is making your bed. This is something, I mean, people have written entire books about the importance of making your bed on a daily basis. Just how it starts your day off with an automatic win, how it just kind of sets the tone for your day. There's so many benefits to making your bed, and I don't think a lot of people think about it or even realize the impact it can have to actually make your bed. So making my bed every day, vacuuming. We get asked all the time, what about all the animal hair? You guys have all these dogs in the house and the cats now, and what about animal hair? Well, guys, we have to vacuum every single day. We've had to vacuum every single day for years and years now. We've always had babies crawling on the floor, and you know when they're crawling on the floor, they can find a microscopic crumb of anything to put in their mouth. So vacuuming every day is just a part of our routine and our life because there is animal hair and we gotta vacuum it up. Side note, because I vacuum every day, I did make the investment into a really, really nice Dyson vacuum for our downstairs, and then I bought a slightly less expensive version of that vacuum for upstairs. Not the Dyson, but like that type of vacuum. It's from Walmart. I'll link them both below in the description box down below. But so we keep one upstairs, one downstairs. So we have an upstairs vacuum, a downstairs vacuum. That is very helpful. And the little attachments and everything. And almost all of our children, minus the toddlers, are capable of vacuuming. So even if my husband or I are not the ones to do it every day, somebody's gonna do it every day. And dishes. Dishes, 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 the bane of our existence with so many people in our family. And everybody thinks that they need to eat 3 times a day. I don't even understand it, but people want to eat. You got to feed them. You got to feed these people. And there's a lot of these people. So there's a lot of dishes. So it's just something that we have to keep up with every day. My preference is always to do the dishes at each meal. So after breakfast, get those dishes in the dishwasher. Then after lunch, get those in. And then usually by that time, it's full and can be run. Then someone can put it away, and then we come back and do dishes again after dinner. So going to bed at night with a clean kitchen, man, it just makes all the difference. One of the ways you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, your kitchen's clean, you feel like you're off to a good start. You don't feel like you're starting from like 2 steps back. One thing I want to share with you guys really quickly is that I am going to have a few videos coming up, because when I talk about routines and schedules, this is my, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. This is my cleaning schedule checklist. So I have both a cleaning schedule checklist as well as a seasonal cleaning checklist. So this is what I go to for my different seasonal cleans, certain things outdoors that I want to take care of. So I'm going to do a separate video about that, breaking down my seasonal cleaning, my monthly cleaning, weekly, and daily. So each one will be its own video. But I do have these printables that you guys can check out down below in the description box if you want to join me and do these cleaning things with me. It will come with one that is blank and for you to fill out your own stuff, and one that has my stuff already populated in there, just so you can get an idea of the kinds of things that I have on my list. But we'll talk more about that in future videos. But if you want to grab those, they're linked down below in the description box. Tip number 2 is to have a 10-minute tidy in your day. Now, we used to have this when my husband was leaving our home to go to work every day. Our 10 to 15-minute tidy was always right before Dad got home from work. That was when we chose to do it. Now it's usually shortly around dinner time, where we will, so basically kind of the same time, where we do our 10 to 15 minute tidy. And basically that's where everyone comes together, all hands on deck, and we descend upon our home like locusts and clean things up, pick things up, put things away, tidy things up, clean up any messes that have been made, whatever it is, just that 10 to 15 minute tidy. And you would be shocked if you turn on some music or just like get everybody in like a happy spirit or happy mood, how much you can actually get done in that 10 to 15 minute period. Even if it's just you, even if your kids are too young to help you, whatever the case is, you get a lot done in 10 to 15 minutes when you are like, when you almost like challenge yourself, how much can I clean in this 10 to 15 minute period? But it's mostly just about keeping things picked up. Tip number 3, which kind of goes along with tip number 2, is power hour cleaning. So this is something that I utilize every evening. It's kind of weird. I've gotten into this habit since we moved here, and it really works for me because my schedule is very different since we moved to the farm than it was when we lived in a neighborhood. I have to utilize my time differently. And so one of those things looks like the time after dinner, kind of before the kids go to bed. It's like my power hour. I scurry around downstairs and I'm usually switching laundry, tidying things up. My bedroom, our master bedroom, is downstairs right off the kitchen. And so our kids come in there all day, and I feel like it's just, there's stuff taken out of my closet, there's things on the floor. It's just sort of that last minute evening stuff. Sometimes I'll even pick one of my decluttering projects or something that could be done relatively quickly that doesn't require a whole lot, and that's what I do in my power hour. So I honestly, I couldn't give you an outline for what to do in that power hour other than to say, for me, it's a time where I take care of anything I really, really need to that's pressing, or just go around and really tidy things up. The other night, I used that hour and took out a bunch of my winter sweaters and put them into their storage box and took them out to the garage. So it's like one step in the changing of the wardrobe guard, if you will, one step in that process. Couldn't do the whole thing, but I could do at least that part of taking my sweaters, packing them up, putting them away. Number 4 is limit the amount of toys you have. Now, I know I see all the beautiful playrooms on Pinterest too that are just full of toys. They've got bins and baskets and there's all kinds of things everywhere. Here's what I can say. If that works for you and you feel as though you can well train your children on how to clean up after themselves, where to put things, go on with your bad self. Okay, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to tell you that after 15 years of raising kids, I can say that I haven't yet run into a child that requires as many toys. That we as a culture have kind of created this myth around the things that kids need. And if kids don't have these incredible bedrooms full of toys and then a playroom, a bonus room over the garage that's just toys, that, like, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't have a playroom growing up. That wasn't a thing when I was a kid. Nobody had playrooms. If you went over to someone's house and they had like a media room sort of thing where they might have had like a larger TV and a sofa, like that was kind of like the cool extra thing. Now it seems like everyone has a playroom. I fell into that trap too, and I had all the, you know, baskets and bins and stuff, and was like, you know what? I am spending so much of my dilly dang time putting away these toys, organizing these things, and my kids are still acting as though they're bored. If you've been a long-time follower, you have seen where I have loaded up all of my kids' toys into garbage bags and put them into a storage unit and left them with like 5 toys until they learned to get along when they started fighting and being mean to each other over toys. That was like years and years ago. Here's what I will say. My children each have a couple of very specific toys that they enjoy playing with. My boys have some Legos, so they have a little table and some Legos in their room. My daughter Rosie has her backpack with her little things in it. That's a whole nother video. She's got her little stuff. But then as far as like downstairs, we have a little like IKEA thing with 4 baskets in it where there's like some trucks and stuff, just some larger toys like that for my 2-year-old, which is here to see me right now. Hi, bye-bye. Can you shut the door?
Okay.
Thank you. And then we have our like armoire in the kitchen that is full of some homeschool stuff, but a lot of like crafting stuff, a lot of markers, paper, some painting things, some different project things. We have these cool things that you can paint in the pictures, and then it eventually like evaporates, and so you can paint it again. Just a lot of like open-ended things. So in those bins, like I said, there's some toys, there's some blocks, there's some magnetiles, a couple of those like building, just open-ended playing toys, and that's it. And some stuffed animals. They have a basket of stuffed animals and books. We have tons and tons and tons of books. We don't have toys strewn about all over our house, downstairs or upstairs. So we send our kids out to play. We give them craft stuff at the table to do if they're really bored. I feel like this is kind of a contentious issue, so I'm trying to tread lightly, but I just don't think that kids need as much stuff as we tend to think that they need. And it can become overwhelming for you to keep your house clean when your kids are destroying your house all the time with toys, dragging toys all over the place. So that's just my 2 cents. Do what you want, but I think limiting the toys, if you are going to have a lot of toys, put them on a rotation, put them in bins, label them bin 1, 2, 3, and just rotate it out. For a week or 2, they get bin 1, then 2 weeks later, put that one away and get bin 2, then switch again, to keep toys feeling new and fresh to them, and you keep yourself from having copious amounts of toys that you have to manage and clean up. On that same token, smaller wardrobes for children and for adults if you can manage it. I'm not someone that is very good at having a small wardrobe. My children don't give a rip about clothes. So why on earth would I have a giant wardrobe for them when they don't care? So having slightly smaller wardrobes for kids is also a really, really good idea. And for yourself too, if you can manage it. I'm still working on it, okay? I'm working on it. I say this with no judgment to anyone who has a larger wardrobe for yourself or your kids. I'm just saying that for us, I have found that again, and until my kids get to an age where, like my one of my daughters has more of a robust wardrobe than the rest of the kids because she cares about that stuff. She likes clothes, and so she takes a lot of my hand-me-downs, and she has a larger wardrobe. But pretty much everybody else, nobody cares about clothes. So we get them clothes that fit and are seasonally appropriate and look nice. Where the other thing I like to do, and this is just personal, is if I'm gonna buy my kids clothes, I try to buy them in similar color palettes so that, they all kind of look like they go together. I don't know, it's dumb, but I like it. I think it's cute. So, tip number 6 is to choose washable items. We have always tried to kind of choose furniture that's conducive to having a lot of kids and pets. So whether that be choosing slightly darker furniture, looking for really, really durable fabrics, or leather is great, or washable items. So for us, that's really like the number one thing is, can I unzip the cushion off of this and or unzip the cushion cover off of this, set the cushion aside, wash the thing. And as long as I can wash it in my washing machine and then air dry it, I'm good to go. So we end up doing that on definitely a monthly basis, but sometimes like a bi-weekly basis, just depending on the season and what's happened and who's spilling what. And it's actually just kind of like, it's not a big deal because it's kind of part of the laundry and you just slip them back on. It's just really not a big deal. So choosing washable, cleanable furniture is just, it's a requirement for me. I just choose not to invest in really fancy, really nice furniture that I know I'm going to be upset if something happens to it. I don't want to put that pressure on my kids to not live in their home and exist in their home. It's really important to me that my kids not feel like they live in a museum where nothing is touchable, everything is breakable, and you're constantly getting fussed at for, you know, just not keeping things as they're supposed to be. I like things to be tidy and cleaned up. I don't want my home to be dirty, but I do want my children to feel like it's their home and they can kick their feet up and relax and enjoy living there, while at the same time respecting our home and respecting our things and understanding that they're not meant to be consumable. You're supposed to have a couch and use the couch, not destroy the couch. So anyways, washable furniture is key. Okay, number 6 feels really prescient, given that my children are continuing to bust in, is to involve your kids in the cleaning. One moment. Yes, dear. Yeah, she's okay. She can stay. Thank you. Close the door. Okay. Thank you. Not only is it helpful to you, but it's also really, really good for them to have some chores, have some responsibility, understand that your family operates as a team and that you're here for each other, you take care of each other. I'm a big believer that you're their mother, not their maid. And that doesn't mean that you don't want to be a good homemaker and take care of your home and your family, but taking care of your home and your family doesn't mean burn yourself out completely and never require anything else of anyone, because honestly, then you just are going to raise a bunch of kids who go to college and can't do their own laundry, can't cook for themselves, can't do anything, and then they're just helpless and useless, and then they put all that on other people in their life. You want to raise kids that are self-sufficient, that are responsible, and who also value other people's time. And I don't think you make your children into self-sacrificing people and helping them understand the importance of that by you always... So I don't think that you raise your kids into being those kinds of people by you being their maid. There's so much value in involving your kids, not just for you getting some help and being able to keep things in an orderly fashion, but also the responsibility, the personal responsibility, the character it builds in your kids. So involve your kids and involve them from a young age without making chores and cleaning seem like the worst thing ever. I think we sometimes put that on them and train them to see chores and cleaning up as a bad thing, as a negative thing, by the insinuation that this is like, okay, now it's time to do your chores, versus it just being a part of our lives. This is what we do. We do this and then we clean it up. This is just what we do. So anyways, I could make a whole separate video about involving your kids in your everyday life and how beneficial that is for you and for them. Okay guys, that is it. I hope that you enjoyed these 7 tips for keeping your home clean and tidy with kids and pets. There's a couple things I do scent-wise to help with the smells of children and pets in your home all the time. I'll share those in my daily cleaning video. So like I said, I'm going to do a seasonal, a monthly, weekly, and daily. And in my daily cleaning video, I'll share with you some of my tips and tricks, if you will, to keeping the home smelling fresh when you have so many children and animals about. That is it for today's video. If you guys have any other tips, please leave them down below in the comments. It's always so helpful to learn from each other. You guys share with me things that I never would have thought of, and it can be so helpful, like, to the community as a whole. So if you've got any advice or tips, leave those down below in the comments. But that's it for today. Don't forget to check out the printables if you guys want to follow along or utilize the list for your own cleaning tasks or creating good routines and things for yourself. Those will be linked down below in the description box. That's it for today, you guys, and I'll see you again very soon.